It's Wolf, and it's another cassette review. This time we're taking a look at one from New Kids on the Block. It's actually a single, kind of. It's got two songs on it. It is Step by Step and Valentine Girl. However, before I get into the actual cassette review, just want to give a shout out to my dad. My dad had a bit of a medical a couple days ago, and he's currently recovering in the hospital. And I'm not going to get like super into the details because I don't think my dad would necessarily enjoy me, like spouting off all of his personal things to my YouTube channel, but one of the things that he did in the hospital relates to New Kids on the Block. I guess is probably the easiest way to explain it. So my dad watches like all my videos, so he'll see this eventually and he'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that was kind of what made me want to push this up to the top of like priorities of videos to make. My dad is probably the biggest fan of like all of media stuff that I do. He watches like all my YouTube videos, he listens to like all of my radio shows that I do at college and everything. So, I figure he will see this at some point in the near future, and I figure that he will probably get a kick out of it because it relates to something that he told me. So, yeah, on to the actual review of the cassette. So, like I said, it's New Kids on the Block. It's a single with Step by Step and Valentine Girl on it. Now, as you can probably already tell from the picture on the screen, I did not buy this new, and I don't even think you probably can buy this new. If I remember right, actually, speaking of my dad, I believe that I got this when I was shopping with him. We were at one of those stores that's kind of like a Goodwill, but wasn't actually a Goodwill. It was like a local store, and they had a whole wall of cassettes, and they had VHS tapes, and all the other types of stuff that I like. And I don't believe that I actually saw this. My dad saw this, and he pointed it out to me, and he wasn't planning on buying it, but I looked at it, and I was like, this actually seems kind of cool, and I didn't own any sorts of singles up to this point, so I figured it'd be kind of a cool thing to add to my collection. I actually don't think I own any other singles still, so decided to buy it, and I'm pretty glad that I did, actually. So as for the artwork, on the front here you can see some little younger looking New Kids on the Block. This is from 1990 is when the copyright date is, and so this cassette was actually made to like promote an album, and the album came out in 1990, but I'm not sure if this came out before or after the album because Valentine Girl was not on the album, so I'm not really sure about that one. But anyway, so yeah, the members of New Kids on the Block here look a little younger than they do today. And then down in the bottom right you've got Step by Step, some very late 80s early 90s looking font style for New Kids on the Block, and Step by Step on the side. Both of the sides are the same. Actually, I've never mentioned before, I always kind of forget to show both sides of CDs and cassettes and stuff when I do these reviews, but normally they do tend to be the same on both sides anyway. So this one is one of those that is the same on both of the sides. By sides I mean like the spine of it, not the back. I'm going to talk about the back in a minute, but on the side you've got New Kids on the Block, Step by Step, cassette single, and Columbia, and like the number of it, I guess, and looks like pretty much the same font, which is kind of interesting. I'm glad that they used the black on the side because it kind of splits the front and the back, because the front and the back sort of use the same colors, and I think it's like a nice contrast to just have black on the side. Also very easy to read. On the back you have a barcode. I wonder what would happen if you scan that now. I did try that. I have the Walmart app on my phone. I tried scanning it with that, nothing popped up, but I wonder if you use one of those like universal barcode readers if anything would pop up. But on the back here you can see Step by Step, Valentine Girl, so you've got the little tiny track list for this single, and then below that you've got all of the production information and who worked on the songs and wrote it and stuff. And then you also have one of those asterisk things that tells you like a little bit more information about the thing. As you guys can see, Valentine Girl has the asterisk, and it says that it was previously unreleased. It says down at the bottom, taken from the Columbia release Step by Step. Makes me think that this was released after the full album, which is, it's interesting because it's like a promotional thing, but it was released after the actual album came out. So I think that's kind of like interesting promotion, because normally when a single comes out, it comes out before the album and they promote the single, and that's how they promote the album, like through the single. But I think it's kind of interesting that this seems to have come out afterwards. I'm sure that somebody in the comments can probably like confirm or deny that. And then down below that you've actually got a little picture of the cover art for the Step by Step album, which I will add, I think that's a little odd that they named this the same thing as the album, because Step by Step is the name of the lead single on the album, and it's also the name of this because that's the song that the single is. But I think it's kind of strange that they don't have it listed or labeled as Step by Step / Valentine Girl, because if you saw this in a store you might be kind of like, oh, is this the whole album? But it's not actually the whole album, or I suppose maybe not, because it's only in a cardboard sleeve. Well, I don't know, it's like cardboard, it's like thin cardboard. Anyway, it's in a cardboard sleeve and not a plastic case as cassettes usually come in. So the cassette itself, I was kind of surprised with how clean this was for having bought it secondhand, and for the cardboard sleeve being kind of beaten up. The cassette itself is actually like really clean, looks pretty much brand new, and the words and everything aren't faded on it or anything. Very easy to read. On side one, you've just got song names and production info and stuff, and then New Kids on the Block a little bit below that. Interestingly, this is actually the same as the other side. The other side has pretty much all the same info, except for it just says side 2. So both sides of this are pretty much the same, and that's not only in like the text on them, they are actually the same layout on each side. Both songs are on both sides of this cassette, which is interesting because when you buy a single, I feel like, and maybe this is just because when I think of singles, it actually usually is like a 45 record that pops to my mind. But when you see a single, you usually, I think, expect like one song to be on one side and then the other song to be on the other side. So I think it's kind of interesting and a little bit odd that they decided to put both songs on both sides here. But it also kind of was a smart decision, because with how tapes work and how like a song takes up a literal like specific amount of space on the tape, I think that it can be kind of hard to do a one song on each side thing, because if the songs aren't a similar length, then you have just like a strange amount of blank tape. And I've had some other cassettes that have that, and it's just kind of awkward, and sometimes you're kind of confused, as like, you're like, is there going to be another thing that plays? Should I sit here? Should I fast forward through this and then flip the cassette over, or anything like that? So I think that was a smart idea in that way, that since it's the same songs on each side, it's the same length of tape on each side, so there's no awkwardness with that. And then also, if you like both songs, it means that once you get to the end of the one side, if you want to listen again, you just either flip it over or let your auto reverse mechanism just start playing it the other way. So as for the actual sound stuff, I guess I already sort of talked about the interesting release stuff. I said I was going to talk about that when I got to the music stuff, but like the actual listening review part, but I've already talked about that. So I guess on to the actual songs. I'm kind of amazed, for one, just first off, that this cassette is just super high quality. I was kind of blown away when I first listened to it a couple years ago, because I've owned this for a while, and even just now re-listening to it, I don't know if they used some sort of, like, I mean, it says on the case that it's got Dolby B noise reduction or whatever, but it has some good sound quality. And again, since cassettes are all different, it could also just be that I happened to somehow get a particularly good cassette, but I was just kind of surprised with the sound quality. It just sounded really, really good, and there's not really any awkwardness with deterioration of the tape, which is another kind of interesting thing, because I mean, you think about this came out in 1990, and I just listened to it today. It's 2021 when I'm recording this video. This cassette is over 30 years old, and it still sounds really good. So incredibly, throughout, you know, its history of being bought by somebody and then eventually ending up in that Goodwill type shop on a shelf, it has been very well taken care of, which is cool. So the actual songs, I think Step by Step I like better than Valentine Girl, but Valentine Girl is not a bad song. Step by Step, I actually really enjoy that song. It is one of those songs that kind of sticks in your mind, and it's just very, like I said earlier about the font, late 80s, early 90s, just very much that style. And I think that it's, you know, if you want to listen to a song that sounds like that, Step by Step is a really good one to listen to. It's just got that like vibe to it, and I really like it. And just the lyrics of it and the way that it's sung, I mean, I think since the first time I listened to this cassette, every now and again the song still pops back in my mind, because it's just like a really memorable song. Valentine Girl, on the other hand, it's also still kind of got that same late 80s, early 90s vibe to it, but it's not as addictive as Step by Step, and I think it's just that there's not as much sort of variety as you're listening to Valentine Girl. But it's still an okay song, and it's like, after you listen to Step by Step, you don't mind listening to Valentine Girl to listen to Step by Step again. And I do think that they go pretty well together, because they've got sort of similar themes. So yeah, I mean, that's it, because there's only 2 songs on it. This is a pretty cool single, and I mean, if you see one out and about, I would suggest to pick it up, but it's one of those things where, as I mentioned earlier in the video, you're probably not going to find a new version of it. So the quality thing, cassettes, you know, they can vary in quality quite a bit. So if you find a good quality one, I think that it's a pretty good pickup, especially if you like the type of music that I've described it as. Otherwise, I mean, I'm pretty sure you can listen to both of the songs online somewhere on like a streaming service. The songs are out there to listen to online. You don't need the single. But yeah, so thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in other videos, and bye-bye.